This is episode 10 of the podcast, The Tech Lounge, discussing the future of UA&A era. And I want you to just imagine for a second that your next boss doesn't sleep, like at all. They never take a vacation, and they evaluate your annual performance review by processing, 300,000 separate data points in roughly a millisecond. Oh, and your boss isn't human. It's an algorithm.
Yeah, and I mean, that is the reality a lot of people are waking up to right now, so you're definitely going to want to grab a drink because we have a massive stack of intelligence to unpack today.
Seriously, I am just so glad we finally managed to sneak out of the office to decompress. The background hum of this bar is exactly what I needed after the day I've had.
Oh, absolutely. The change of scenery is much needed.
Right. And hey, if you're listening to us right now, go ahead and pull up a bar stool. Just settle in.
Oh, yeah.
Because whether you're a mid-level manager trying to navigate daily corporate chaos, or an entrepreneur building a team, or, just insanely curious about how the corporate ladder is fundamentally changing, you need to hear this.
You really do.
Our mission today is to dive into the data, showing how artificial intelligence isn't just updating the software we use. It is, completely rewriting the top job in business. We are looking at a total structural shift in leadership.
Yeah, the intelligence actually refers to this as a reimagined moment, which is a great way to phrase it, honestly. Historically, we've always treated technological leaps as, things that happen to the IT department.
Right, like just go buy new software.
Exactly. You buy the new software, you install it, you move on. But what the data is showing us now is that this specific technological leap is a make-or-break moment for the chief executive officer. The core foundations of a business literally have to be examined.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because treating AI like it is just some simple IT upgrade is basically like trying to install a next-generation, hyper-advanced operating system onto a 15-year-old motherboard.
Yeah, that's a perfect analogy.
You can't just force-feed futuristic processing power through hardware that was built for dial-up internet. The bottlenecks in the old architecture, like the slow memory, the outdated physical wiring, they will completely choke the new software. And eventually the whole system just crashes.
Right, it just breaks.
And that perfectly encapsulates this concept from the sources, the 80-20 rule. The data shows that successful AI integration is actually 80% business transformation and only 20% technology transformation.
And what's fascinating here is the financial stakes attached to getting that 80% right. I mean, they are astronomical. We are not talking about shaving a few pennies off an operational budget here.
No, definitely not.
Proper, holistic digital transformation can add up to $1.25 trillion in market cap globally.
Trillion, with a T. That is insane.
With a T, yeah. And to capture that kind of value creation, the CEO's role has to evolve. They can no longer just be the chief manager of human capital and legacy processes. They have to transition into what the data calls the chief AI architect.
Chief AI architect. Wow. I mean, that implies drawing up blueprints for completely new kind of structure rather than just, painting the walls of the old one.
Exactly, which explains a major frustration a lot of people are feeling right now. If you are sitting there wondering why your own company might be struggling to see a real return on investment from all this expensive AI, the answer is usually right there in that 80-20 rule.
Because they're just dropping it into old systems.
Yes. Companies are dropping incredibly powerful generative technology into old, unchanged workflows.
It's like handing an employee a cutting-edge AI agent, but then telling them to use it for the exact same manual, multi-step data entry process they did yesterday.
Right, which completely defeats the purpose.
The tool is instantly handicapped by the human process built around it. Because the underlying workflows have to change, the actual structure of the C-suite has to be torn down and rebuilt to support it.
Yeah, you simply cannot run a futuristic, autonomous enterprise with a traditional siloed executive team. And the data points to an explosion in a relatively new role designed to fix exactly this. The Chief AI Officer, or CAIO.
The CIO.
Yeah, and get this. In just 1 year, the presence of a CIO in organizations jumped from 26% to an astounding 76%.
Wait, what? 76%. So over 3/4 of these companies just suddenly manifested a brand new C-level executive out of thin air.
Pretty much, yeah.
So how does a CIO actually rewire those outdated motherboards we were talking about earlier?
Well, their primary mandate is breaking down the legacy walls that have existed for decades, particularly the walls between human resources and IT.
Oh, okay.
In the past, HR managed the people and IT managed the software. But in an autonomous enterprise, you are building human agent workflows. You're designing systems where human intelligence and artificial intelligence are actively collaborating on the exact same task.
Meaning you can't manage the human side and the software side separately when their daily operations are just that intertwined.
Exactly. Consider how operational decisions are shifting right now. Currently, AI makes about 25% of operational decisions without any human intervention.
A quarter of them.
Right. But by 2030, that number is expected to hit 48%. Almost half of all operational decisions will be made by a machine. We are moving from AI as a tool that recommends a decision to AI as an agent that executes the decision.
Whoa, okay. Let's pause on that distinction because that feels massive, going from recommendation to execution.
It is massive. Think about it. A recommendation engine analyzes market data and suggests dropping the price of a product, right? But a human manager still has to review it and click approve.
Yeah, the human is still the gatekeeper.
Right. But an execution agent, it detects a competitor's price drop, analyzes internal profit margins, and automatically adjusts your company's pricing across all global platforms in real time without asking for permission.
Okay, I have to push back on the implications of that. If the machine is deciding the pricing, rerouting the supply chain, and actively pulling the trigger on half of the company's operational decisions, aren't we just automating middle management and the C-suite out of existence? Like, what are the humans in the corner offices actually doing?
Well, it is a completely valid fear, but if we connect this to the bigger picture, the organization isn't going to become totally devoid of humans. It's just going to become much flatter.
Flatter how?
We are going to need fewer traditional managers whose whole job was just to shepherd information from point A to point B or to oversee rote tasks. Instead, we need far more workers actively exercising high-level human judgment.
So the job itself fundamentally morphs. The human's role shifts from making the repetitive decision to designing the logic that makes the decision in the first place.
Exactly. And handling the complex exceptions. The AI handles the sheer volume of the data while the human handles the nuance. You basically start managing people who are executing tasks, and you start orchestrating the intelligence of the broader system.
Orchestrating the system makes sense for the vast majority of companies. I get that. But what happens when a company decides to just skip the human orchestration altogether? Because if humans are just setting the guardrails, what happens when a company decides to put an AI directly into the big chair?
Ah, now you're talking about the radical edge of this transformation, the actual robot CEOs.
I mean, it sounds like pure science fiction, but the intelligence stack highlights real-world deployments happening right now.
Yeah, we have several documented cases. There's Mika, for example. Mika is a humanoid robot serving as an experimental CEO for a luxury beverage company.
A robot running a beverage company. Wild.
Right. Mika oversees their community operations and their decentralized autonomous organization. And because Mika is an artificial entity, she operates 24/7.
No weekends off.
None. She doesn't sleep. She doesn't experience decision fatigue. She just continuously processes data and executes strategy.
A completely relentless executive.
And then there is Tang Yu. Tang Yu is a virtual AI entity running a gaming subsidiary. And this wasn't just some marketing gimmick either. No, the data shows that Tang Yu reviewed 300,000 internal forms and sent 500,000 reminders. And more importantly, its tenure actually coincided with a measurable boost in the company's stock performance.
That is just wild to me. A machine comes in, optimizes the workflow, processes 300,000 documents in a fraction of the time it would take a human department, and the stock goes up. I mean, that is a terrifyingly effective resume.
It really is.
But how do actual flesh and blood employees react to working for a machine?
Well, this raises an important question regarding governance and trust. It's super easy to look at the efficiency metrics and get swept up in the novelty of a robot in the boardroom. But studies show that when customer or employees know a brand uses AI for these kinds of high-level interactions or decisions, trust drops by a factor of 12.
Wait, a factor of 12?
Yeah.
That's not a dip, that is a cliff. What a massive rejection.
Because people fundamentally want accountability. They want to know a human is ultimately responsible if something goes wrong, which is why it's critical to impartially examine how these robot CEOs are actually functioning today.
Right, they aren't just running wild.
Exactly. They are not absolute dictators, they are hybrid models. The AI handles the vast, unfathomable amounts of data processing, the workflow automation, the logical optimization. But humans still retain control over the ethical guardrails, the empathy required for nuanced personnel management, and the ultimate strategic vision.
Still, just imagine it from your perspective as an employee. Like, think about submitting a major project proposal. Instead of sending it to a human boss who might be, having a bad day or who has an unconscious bias against your department, you submit it to an AI boss.
Right, it changes everything.
It evaluates your proposal instantly, based purely on real-time global market data, historical success rates, and logical alignment with company goals. It forces a completely different standard of work. You can no longer rely on office politics or charm. Your ideas had to stand up to ruthless mathematical scrutiny.
It really does strip away the subjective elements of career advancement, but for the vast majority of companies that are keeping their human CEOs, they are realizing something equally important. An off-the-shelf generic AI subscription is not going to help them beat these highly optimized, futuristic competitors.
Because if everyone buys the exact same AI software, nobody has an actual competitive advantage, right?
Yeah.
You are all just equally fast using the same generic intelligence.
Exactly, which is driving a massive shift away from relying solely on massive pre-trained foundation models, the generic models everyone has access to. The data indicates that by 2030, the most successful companies will use a highly customized hybrid strategy.
What does that look like?
They are going to mix large language models, small language models, and ultra-specialized language models.
Okay, let's break down how that actually works in practice, because I feel like the distinction is crucial.
Yeah, so a large language model, or an LLM, that's your generalist, it has broad reasoning capabilities, but it requires massive computing power.
Right, it's expensive and heavy.
Very. Then you have a small language model, an SLM. That is trained on a much narrower data set. It uses fewer parameters, making it faster, cheaper to run, and capable of operating locally on a device without sending data to the cloud.
Oh, nice.
And then you have ultra-specialized models, which might be trained exclusively on a specific niche, like complex legal frameworks or biochemical engineering. By using a mix, you use the big, expensive model for complete reasoning, but you route daily, repetitive tasks to the faster, cheaper models.
And crucially, the sources note that all of these will be fine-tuned on the company's own highly guarded proprietary data.
Yes. That proprietary data is the new moat. We have incredible case studies demonstrating this. A logistics company didn't just buy a generic chatbot. They built a customized AI platform trained on their own historical routing data and integrated it directly into their warehousing flows.
And what happened?
They achieved a 100% return on investment in a matter of weeks, and they dropped their system response times to 1.2 milliseconds.
1.2 milliseconds to process a logistical disruption and reroute a shipment. That's unbelievable.
Another case study looked at an insurance provider that used a similar custom approach, trained on their specific claims history, to reduce their incident handling time by 90%.
90%.
Yeah. When you build the AI around your proprietary data and your specific operational bottlenecks, it's not just doing things faster. It is operating in a way your competitors literally cannot replicate because they don't have your internal data.
Okay, so what does this all mean? Because here is where I hit a massive contradiction in the intelligence stack. On one hand, we have this incredible capability, right? These custom models yielding 90% reductions in handling time. And 86% of CEOs believe their employees have the skills required to collaborate with this AI.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, only 25% of the workforce actually uses AI regularly in their day-to-day jobs.
Yeah.
Why is there such a massive disconnect between what the tech can do and what people are actually doing?
Well, the answer really comes down to human nature and leadership. This 25% usage gap is fundamentally an organizational design failure. It is not a skills gap.
Oh, interesting.
If leadership does not explicitly engineer new human agent workflows and mandate their use, humans will naturally revert to their comfortable manual defaults.
The path of least resistance. I mean, if an employee can just use the spreadsheet they've used for 10 years, they're going to do that, even if a small language model could do it in 10 seconds.
Exactly. The CEO cannot just buy the software and send out a company-wide email. They have to rewire the company's daily operations so that avoiding the AI is actually harder than using it.
That makes total sense.
But this internal corporate struggle isn't happening in a vacuum either. It is playing out against the backdrop of a highly complex, fragmented global landscape. Leaders aren't just managing employee resistance, they are managing geopolitics.
Geopolitics playing directly into enterprise AI strategy. That is a whole other layer.
It is. The tensions on the global stage are actively driving the creation of multiple sovereign AI stacks. Nations view artificial intelligence as critical infrastructure, meaning we won't see one unified global system.
Right, everyone wants their own.
Exactly. We're seeing the emergence of regional ecosystems protected by national tech priorities and strict data sovereignty laws. Companies have to navigate this. A multinational corporation might be operating in a world where they have to use one AI stack in Europe and a completely different ring-fence stack in Asia just to comply with local regulations regarding where proprietary data can even be processed.
Man, so as a leader, you are fighting a battle on two fronts. You are trying to get your own employees to adopt the technology and change their daily habits, while simultaneously trying to navigate this fractured global map of AI regulations and sovereign data laws.
Yeah, and while they figure out how to navigate all of that current AI landscape, these leaders also have to look over the horizon at the next massive disruption barreling toward them.
Right, you're talking about quantum computing.
Yeah.
I mean, we barely have our heads wrapped around custom language models, and now we have to factor in quantum leaps.
We do. The intelligence shows that 82% of AI-first leaders are already actively engaging in quantum computing ecosystems. They are forming partnerships with quantum startups, testing theories, and building infrastructure. In this new era, the historical business strategy of being a fast follower, it is completely dead.
The idea of letting a competitor take the early R&D risks, watching them succeed, and then quickly copying their strategy. You just can't be a fast follower when the leader has a quantum computer and you have a standard server rack. The gap is just too wide.
The technological leap is too profound. Quantum computers operate on entirely different principles of physics, allowing them to evaluate vast possibilities simultaneously rather than sequentially.
Right.
If you wait until a competitor achieves quantum advantage, where they can solve global supply chain optimizations in seconds that would take classical computers millennia, you've already lost. The mathematical gap becomes totally insurmountable.
It is just relentless. But looking at all of this, the custom AI stacks, the quantum ecosystems, the robot CEOs, it brings up what I consider the ultimate dilemma we found in the sources. I call it the unprogrammable question.
The conflict between data and intuition.
Exactly. Just imagine a scenario where an AI system which has access to all the real-time data in the world, perfectly calibrated custom algorithms, flawless mathematical logic, it makes a strategic recommendation to the human CEO. But that recommendation directly conflicts with the human CEO's visionary gut feeling.
Right.
Like the data tells them to acquire a company, but the CEO's intuition just screams that the cultural fit will destroy them from the inside out.
It's the classic tension between optimization and innovation.
Because think about it. If the human ignores the mathematically flawless advice, goes with their gut and fails, it is an absolute disaster.
Yeah.
The board will crucify them for ignoring the data.
Oh, absolutely.
But the flip side is just as dangerous. If they blindly follow the AI every single time just to play it safe, they sacrifice breakthrough, counterintuitive innovation. They never take the crazy leap of faith that creates something truly unprecedented. Because AI, by its very nature, only optimizes for patterns that are already known.
Right. It highlights that true leadership has never just been about optimization. It's about vision, which is inherently unquantifiable. The defining characteristic of the CEO of the future won't be their ability to read a data dashboard. It will be how they navigate that exact moment of conflict.
Man, that is a heavy thought for a relaxed after-work chat.
Oh.
But it is the reality of where business is heading. So next time you're forced to make a major decision, whether that is steering a massive project at work or just navigating a choice in your personal life, ask yourself, are you relying on the hard data or are you relying on your gut? And as we march toward this autonomous enterprise, will your boss trust your gut over a machine's data?
That is a deeply provocative question to end the day on.
I think we've definitely earned another round after that deep dive. Thanks for pulling up a stool and joining us for this afterwork chat. We will catch you next time. Cheers.